There we go.
All right, so good morning. So I'm Paul Holding from Ripley Solutions. Thank you for joining us on this webinar today, where we'll be talking about the smart factory journey. So I'd like to start by thinking about, why do we go on a journey? Sometimes we go on a journey because the destination is worthwhile, but the airport, sitting on a plane, passport control, and baggage reclaim are all necessary evils of that journey. Sometimes we go to the supermarket because we need something. But given the choice, many of us would rather spend our time at home than shopping in Tesco's, but nevertheless, we want what they're selling. And sometimes we go because we have to, even if we don't want to. We go to the dentist. In all these cases, the journey might be undesirable, but the end result is worthwhile. And sometimes we need a little bit of help on that journey. So what are we going to talk about today? First of all, we're going to talk about what a smart factory is and why we might want to go on this journey. Then we'll talk about how we get there. And finally, think about the pitfalls that we might need to avoid along the way. So what is a smart factory and why would we go on this journey? The reality is we're already on a journey. From 1760 to the present day, manufacturing has seen a series of industrial revolutions. Each of those has been marked by a piece of enabling technology. In the first industrial revolution, we moved from hand production to mechanisation. Enabling technologies were steam and water power. In the second industrial revolution, we saw the rise of mass production and assembly lines. The enabling technology was electricity. And the third industrial revolution, we saw the rise of automation. The enabling technologies there were computers, PLCs, and robotics. And the fourth industrial revolution, where we are today, sees the physical and digital worlds working together in harmony. There's a range of enabling technologies from additive manufacturing through to cloud computing, machine learning, and the Internet of Things. So why do we want to go on this journey? There's a number of different reasons. First of all, sustainable operations. Many companies have a net zero target, and virtually every organisation is faced with increasing costs for energy and materials. We can improve decision making. We can get the right data to the right people to take actions before problems arise, whether that's the COO, production leaders, operators, or maintenance. We can reduce downtime and unplanned outages. We can reduce our cycle times. We can reduce breakdowns. We can improve quality with the right first-time approach. We can reduce waste and rework. We can improve our employee experience. We can reduce the need for paperwork and manual data entry, and we can improve the way knowledge is shared throughout the organisation. And finally, we can improve our customer experience all the way from the point of purchase through to servicing the products that they buy. So why do we really want to go on this journey? Ultimately, it's about remaining competitive whilst delivering the best products and services. A competitive edge is no longer based on the products alone. Now, manufacturers need to have the best profitable business models as well. And smart factories are changing the entire manufacturing industry. So what is a smart factory? A smart factory continuously collects and shares data through connected machines, devices, and production systems. That data can be used across the organisation to proactively address issues, improve manufacturing processes, and respond to new demands. And by connecting the physical and digital worlds, smart factories can monitor the entire production process, from the manufacturing tools and the supply chain through to individual operators on the shop floor. Simply put, smart factories are all about making the best decisions in the shortest possible time using the most accurate information, whether those decisions are made by people, automated machines, or cyber physical systems. So where's all this data coming from? It can come from a number of different sources. We've got our enterprise systems, our ERP systems, our MES systems, our PLM systems. The ERP storing all of our orders, it's tracking what the enterprise is doing. Our MES system, that's got all of our work instructions in, and our PLM system has our designs and specifications. We've got things on the factory floor. All of the machinery will have sensors. We've got tooling as well. We've got our human operators. We can equip them with handheld scanners, tablets, and operator workstations. And if we look wider, we've got our supply chain, whether that's our logistics suppliers or the suppliers that are providing the materials and goods that come into our factory. All of these are different sources of information that we can tap into when building our smart factory. So now we've talked about where that data is going to come from, we can think about our level of readiness. How ready are we able to use that data? In some organisations, we are at level 1, that data is siloed and requires human effort to get at it. Think about how often we have people walking around with clipboards, filling in forms. We then have more humans writing that, taking that data, putting it into an electronic format so it can be presented to people that need it. That whole process is slow, error-prone, and inefficient. We then move to level 2, that data becomes accessible. We know where we are and what's happening. That data is in electronic formats. We then move on to level 3, predictive data. We know where we're heading and what's going to happen. That data is automatically analysed to generate insights and predict outcomes. We're no longer reacting to problems when they happen. We can use predictive maintenance to tell us when to take action before machines fail and causing us costly downtime. And finally, we move into proactive data. Machine learning can tell us when actions need to be required. And in some cases, we can take those actions automatically. For example, we can change a production schedule based on the status of equipment or raw materials on the factory floor. So who's going to benefit from this smart factory? Short answer is everybody, but let's look at that in a bit more detail. First of all, we have our operators. We can reduce the need for manual data collection. We can give them accurate work instructions. Our production leaders, we can give them information to tell them if their targets are being met and what is putting those targets at risk. Our maintenance personnel, we can provide them with accurate information about the health of machines down to the individual sensors, actuators and drives. We can also provide them with a complete maintenance history on that equipment. Our quality people, we can give them full traceability of the materials coming into the factory through to the finished product leaving the factory. We can also identify the parameters needed for a golden batch. And finally, our management, we can give them a high-level overview of what's happening on the factory floor in simple red, amber and green terms with the ability to drill down and understand problems where needed. So what does this smart factory look like in action? First of all, we can monitor production in real time to eliminate waste and rework. We can use condition-based monitoring to eliminate unplanned outages. We can use augmented reality to provide our workforce with accurate instructions. And we can manage some of this equipment remotely to reduce energy usage and diagnose problems. So now we've talked about what a smart factory is, we need to think about how we're going to get there. And the way we do that is digital transformation. Digital transformation is how we make the journey and embrace those enabling technologies. These enabling technologies mean that we're no longer having somebody with a clipboard writing down numbers. Instead, we get that data automatically so we can turn it into insights and actionable results. Now to get there, there's a number of steps. We're not going to make this entire journey in one step. We're going to break it down. First of all, we need to think about our goals and requirements. We need to understand what are the business goals and the drivers. Once we've understood those, we can think about the actual requirements and document those to meet the goals. We need to make sure each requirement is clearly understood, the rationale is justified, and we also understand how we'll know if we've met that requirement or not at the end. And finally, we need to think about the biggest pain points. Where can we identify or where can we get those benefits quickly? Next, we need to think about bringing people on board. Smart factories aren't about replacing people, they're about empowering people. We need to identify all of the stakeholders. We need to think about who they are, how they'll be impacted, and communicate effectively with them. And in many organisations, it's best to start from the top of the organisation and work down. Start with that executive sponsorship and then work down through our production leaders and our operators and our maintenance personnel. Then we need to think about the architecture and design. We need to define the vision. What does that smart factory look like? And then create a solution architecture. Just as if we're building a building, we would work with a solution architect. We'd work with an architect to define what that building looks like. And building a smart factory is no different. Solution architects such as myself can outline how that smart factory will be built. Then we need to think about creating a roadmap and deliver that incrementally. And finally, we need to think about the data sources and identify the gaps that we need to fill. A smart factory is likely to need many changes in technologies to realise the goals. And the final goal is likely to be a fully integrated enterprise from the shop floor all the way to the ERP system. But for now, we need to focus on that first step. And we do that by running a pilot project. If we look at where we can obtain the biggest value and look at those pain points, we can demonstrate value and business benefits. And if we have something that delivers immediate and obvious benefits, it'll make it far easier to people to buy into the initiative later. And then once we've launched our project, our pilot, and we've delivered on that, we need to think about other projects to deliver against that roadmap. Ultimately, we need to do it in small, manageable increments, and then review after each increment to see, have we actually achieved what we set out to do? And if necessary, we need to adjust what we thought we were going to do at the start of the smart factory. May be very different as we learn lessons along the way. So what are some of the pitfalls that we need to avoid along this journey? First of all, we need to make sure we align the smart factory vision with the business goals. If there's no business case, it will ultimately lead to poor value for money. We need to create that solution architecture and roadmap. If we don't have that vision or destination, we won't know where we're going, we won't know if we've arrived, and the goals will constantly change. We need to make sure we deliver in small, manageable increments. Trying to do too much too soon can be a recipe for disaster. Look at the biggest business benefits, where they can be realised, and start there. And finally, we need to invest in people, process and technology. Technology is important, but it's not the only element on the journey. People will need to embrace these changes and processes will need to be adapted. It's also important we don't upgrade to the latest technology for no reason. It's very easy to get caught up with the latest and shiniest things. But the smart factory today may already have lots of technology in the factory we can use. We're just not putting it to good use. We need to look at what we've already got and can we make the best use of it before we invest in new technology. It's also important we think about these solutions and make sure that they are fully integrated. If we've got lots of solutions, each dealing with a certain aspect but they aren't integrated, we haven't really solved the problem. We've still got those silos, we've just created a new problem. And then finally, it's important that we don't overlook cybersecurity and ensure that our valuable data is protected. So what have we covered today? First of all, we've looked at the smart factory and why we might want to go on this journey. Then we've talked about how we get there. And finally, we've looked at the pitfalls to avoid along the way. So I'd like to open up to the audience. What questions do you have?
Oh, no questions.
A couple of things in the chat I've noticed.
Those are me, I'm afraid, Paul.
Okay, sorry.
I think some of the feedback that we had from some of the other kind of times you've done this presentation is asking about kind of any kind of real world examples that you've got that you can kind of talk about of how bringing some of these things in can actually kind of help achieve their goals more, especially when you're then going to kind of be talking to a range of different people. So from the people paying for it all the way down to the people who are going to be kind of implementing these new kind of processes and that kind of thing. Anything to kind of add into that, Paul? Sorry, throw you under a bus.
No, that's fine. So I think one good example is if you look at job cards that travel around with the parts in a factory, that job card really tells you everything that's happened to that piece of work product as it's been machined through the factory. And if that piece of paper gets lost, essentially that work product can be worthless. So one customer that we worked with, we implemented an automated system to use barcodes and actually track the life of that particular work piece as it went all the way through the factory at different steps. And what that then opened up was a number of other avenues that people like the quality people could then see what were the parameters that happened during that step. If there was a need for rework, is there something we can do to avoid that rework in the future? So it really did open up a lot of different avenues. Just starting off with having an electronic job card rather than a piece of paper meant that so many different people could then get access to that data. Production leaders could say, actually, have we made enough products? Are we actually waiting on raw materials to come in? Are we waiting on operators to cycle things through machinery? And I think probably the other aspect to that, what it then opened up, is actually looking at the machinery itself and being able to actually look at the health of it and actually start to say, yeah, things are going out of tolerance, and that could be vibrations increased on a machine or temperature or energy usage All of these are indicators that say something might be wrong with that machine. And then what the maintenance people can do is they can come along and actually start to investigate before you've got that outage, before you've got that costly downtime, which can really cripple some factories.
We just had another question on the on the chat. Do you offer a service to review and assess existing production line and provide recommendations?
Yes, absolutely. So what we've done with a number of customers is we've come in essentially and spent almost a day in the life. So we'll come in and we'll talk to a number of different people, whether that's the management, the maintenance, the operators, and we'll really just understand how do they operate, where are the pain points, and then using our experience of working for similar customers, we can identify where those opportunities might be, and we can suggest practical recommendations. That could be a very simple change to address that pain point, or it could be part of a large program of work to build that smart factory, but that's absolutely something we can do.
Brilliant. Any other questions from the room at all? Feel free to either pop them in the chat and I'll read them out, as long as it's not anything too technical, or you can just take yourselves off mute. Well, if that's it, what I would say is we've got another seminar coming up about integrating operational technology and IT. So it'd be great if you could come along, and we'll send over this recording so you can go back through it, show it to anybody else that you think might be interested within your teams, and I'll pop a link to the next kind of webinar in that as well, so you can have a look. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Paul, before we?
I'd just like to thank everyone for joining us, and if there is any questions or anything, please feel free to reach out.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I think Paul and I are going to hang around